Thank you for joining the Beyond Corona Film Festival. I'm Allison McCulloch, and this is Domenicca Botero. How's it going, Domenicca?
Good. How are you?
Good. And I noticed that as a filmmaker, you want to highlight both your heritage and your gender and bring maybe some issues to light. Your film is about a woman asserting herself and what she wants to do. Could you take a minute to talk about just the themes you want to explore in your filmmaking?
Yeah, well, in this one, mostly it relates a lot to the theme of trying to be an artist, especially when people don't really encourage you or approve of that sort of career. And it's usually a lot more difficult for women because there's such few amount of women in the industry, in every industry, whether it be painting. You never see anyone name a woman painter a genius the way that you would like Picasso or Da Vinci. So it's so difficult to even break through as an artist and even more so as a woman. And I wanted to explore that side in this film.
Exactly. And I mean, of course, there are some names, but like you're saying, not the level of Picasso.
Yeah.
And it's not because the women haven't reached that level. It's because,
Yeah.
we're just.
They're just never considered that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it was interesting you brought up art in addition to filmmaking. Are there any other forms of art that you like to experiment with or work with?
I do. I like to paint a lot. I do a lot of digital paintings. I did the poster for it. I hand drew it, the actress, Melissa. And I do a lot of watercolor. I did some ceramics in high school, stuff like that.
Oh, great. And in addition to being a writer, director, are there any other aspects? Like, are you interested in acting, editing?
Acting, no. I find a lot of people like to do acting. Me, not so much. I do like production design a lot. I like set design, which again goes back into art related department.
So your character wants to study art in Vienna. Have you ever had dreams to study abroad or?
Yeah, I would like to. European art is very different, and it would be nice to go and experiment from different types of, because here it's become more contemporary, especially after Andy Warhol and everything. So I would like to study in different places and learn different techniques as well. But yeah.
We'll see. Okay, and have you made other short films, or what is your trajectory? Do you want to make more short films or eventually make a feature?
Yeah, I would love to, and I would love to eventually make a feature as well. Right now I'm in school. I'm finishing my bachelor's degree,
Okay.
and I'm hoping that I will make my thesis film for my bachelor's degree, and then from there I would like to use it as a proof of concept for a feature.
Oh, that's great. So the proof of concept would be like a shorter version?
Yeah, so it would be this proof of concept that I'm doing, which is technically a short film of its own, is also about two women, but it deals more with the themes of grief and loss, and it's focused on an elderly woman because we don't really see the perspective of elderly people as much. And from there, I hope I can make it into a feature version, hopefully.
Okay, great. And are you like in a film program or
I
more?
am. I'm studying film production,
Okay,
a
great.
bachelor's in film production.
And have you found like working on your projects and maybe other people's projects? Uh, I don't know where I was going with that. Just like I was going to ask if like,
That's okay. You can edit everything.
yeah, of course. I was just going to ask if your main passion is like writing, being a writer director.
It is. I would like to focus especially on directing. I know it's very difficult because again, the whole women thing, it's very difficult as it is to be a director. But I hope to do both production design and directing simultaneously because that's what most directors tend to do. There's a lot of directors that started with an art background. I've been researching a lot on Julian Schnabel, who recently did, yeah, at Eternity's Gate, and he started off as a painter in the 80s and 70s, and then he went on into a lot. He has a lot of art related. He's art heavy in his films, and I want to do that. I hope to follow those steps.
I love especially Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Yeah.
Very favorites. But yeah, I think anyone can come from any sort of background, like in art or whatever, and then get into film. And even though there's there hasn't been like a place for women in like the industry, like way up there. There have been women throughout film history, you know, even since the silent days, who have directed. You just don't hear about them as much. And so I would like to encourage you to continue directing, especially for the Beyond Corona Film Festival. We had a category for women film directors because we really wanted to hear the voices of women too. It's refreshing to hear that perspective.
Yeah.
50% of the population at
Mhm.
least is women. So it's like, okay, we want to hear our voices. We don't want to just see the action films and like women being, you know, objectified. You know, of course, there's a place for action films, but then the nice, quieter, you know, assertive films, we need that too.
There's definitely an audience for everyone. And I think if there's an audience of women, there's always going to be a place to see perspective of women.
Exactly. Great. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, no, just thank you so much for having me and thank you for creating this. I saw that you created this after the South by Southwest got canceled. Yeah, thank you because it's been a weird time.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And actually, I'd like to ask you about dealing with the pandemic. How has that changed, like, your habits? How has that changed, like, your plans for the future in regards to filmmaking? How has that changed your outlook on everything?
Well, for this movie, I had applied to a lot of festivals and I received a lot of people canceling their festivals or either going online, but it was far different when they were streamed online instead of actually going to the festival and meeting people. And I was able to get into one festival during the peak. I live in Florida,
Okay.
which is one of the worst states currently.
Yeah, exactly.
So during a peak where it wasn't as bad, it did screen in a festival in Sarasota.
Oh, that's great.
And for filming now, for school at least, everything has changed. There's now you have to take into consideration how many people are going to be at the crew at once so they don't all overlap. There has to be a lot of disinfecting. There's a lot of new protocols that I'm okay with. It creates a new way of thinking about how to tell a story without doing it with such a big amount of resources. So not as many actors per scene, not as many locations, stuff like that. It does change your perspective.
Exactly. And then hopefully after this is all over, things can get either back to normal or
Mhm.
some semblance of normal.